Hello, everybody. My name is James Leggett, and today I'm doing an interview for The City is Ours. And today, would you like to introduce yourself, guest?
Hi, my name is Anna Kerch, and I played in The City is Ours.
Okay. Question one: how did you get into acting?
Okay, so I think I've always been kind of interested in acting in some form, even when I was quite young. I was kind of just my form of entertainment was just to play characters and just, make believe and stuff. But I think Lord of the Rings was one of the things that kind of when I first watched it as a child before I even read the book, I was just so blown away by it. And then I started watching all the behind the scenes and bloopers and things, and just seeing how much went into that, like everything that went into the set design, the costumes, even the actors, putting everything they had into that. I was just so kind of shocked that something like this can be done. And it just seemed so fun as well, seeing the bloopers and all the actors like getting on basically. And I know it doesn't happen on every set, you can't always get on with everyone on set. That's just not possible. But at the time I didn't know that, and I just thought, yeah, you can just make friends and have a good time playing characters. And basically you can make something that people enjoy as much as I enjoy Lord of the Rings. So it just kind of got me interested in that whole side of things. It made me realize that you can be part of something like that. You don't have to just watch it. You can just make it as well. And I just kind of decided from that point that I had to acting kind of had to be part of my life in some form. Yeah, I'm gonna do my best and basically make it part of my life. Yeah.
Okay. Question two: how tough was COVID in your career?
Okay, so to be honest, I didn't have much of a career like to begin with at the time. I was in my second year of uni, and I was just kind of starting to think about applying to things. And initially, because I think I was putting it off for a long time just because it was quite daunting. I didn't know where to start and stuff. So in my second year, I was like, okay, I'm going to actually start applying for roles. And then I got a role that I was so happy with. It was going to be this kind of murder mystery event. So it was going to be a live show essentially with some actors and then people getting involved. And it was going to be filmed as well. So it seemed so fun just because it wasn't just in person and live, but I could also add it to my portfolio. It was such a good opportunity. And then, of course, COVID happened and couldn't do it. So it felt like I would have had a chance to start my career way sooner, because after that, because COVID happened, and then in my third year of uni, I went abroad. Fourth year, didn't really have time, was quite busy. So it felt like kind of COVID stalled the start of my career a little bit. And it just made me wonder, how maybe I would have been in such a different place now if that hadn't happened. Maybe I'd have been, you know, a bit further along, who knows. So even though I didn't have much of a career, it felt like maybe I could have. But yeah, so that was a bit annoying.
Okay. Question three: what's easier, theatre acting or film acting?
That is a tough one because they're so different, so they're quite hard to compare. Because my first experience with acting, I started just little GCSE performances and A level, so it was quite it was quite stage based and theatre based, and I found that quite natural. I just found it so natural, just being a character from start to finish, taking the character through the story, through the emotions, and kind of just staying engaged for that period of time. And then when I first started doing a bit of film, just kind of with friends, student films and stuff like that, it was just kind of daunting to have a camera in your face and be told, yeah, we're going to start with the last scene of this project. You're going to do that first, and right after you're going to do the first scene. And I was like, oh, wait, you're not doing it chronologically, which obviously now I know doesn't have to be like that. But at the time I was like, oh, that's a bit confusing. So it just felt a bit weird doing it in such a dislodged way. And sometimes just being told, say this line, or act for 30 seconds out of context, this random scene, and then we'll do another random scene right after. And so I think that film acting for me is a lot less natural, and I think it takes more like imagination as well, because with theatre you kind of get to be that character throughout the whole play or whatever, and you get to have even a scene partner. Maybe you make eye contact, you kind of bounce things off of them. So you kind of get to live the character, whereas with film acting it feels like you just have to conjure these emotions out of nowhere, pretend that you've felt them, pretend that you've been through all the scenes that came before this scene. And I think it just takes a lot more imagination, and I think I still kind of struggle with with film acting. Just I struggle feeling as natural as I would, just maybe doing a bit of theatre or a play. So yeah.
Okay. Question 4. Favorite role you have played?
Okay, so my favorite role, I think it was about last year when I did this student film called Black Pudding, and it was quite a different role. So it was about this relationship, this taboo, forbidden relationship between a teacher and his student. So it's quite a dark theme, quite taboo, and just exploring this power dynamic between them and like the struggle of the student, the girl. So I just really enjoyed that because I think it challenged me quite a lot. There were a lot of intense scenes, like highly emotional scenes. We were kind of like shouting at each other or like a bit of crying in this like very enclosed space. And I at first I thought, I can't do this. Oh, like it's going to be really bad. So it pushed me out of my comfort zone, and it kind of showed me that I can do this, and I quite enjoy it. So yeah, that was really fun to do. Just try something a bit darker, a bit more serious as well. So I think that's my favorite role for sure.
Okay. Question 5. Favorite on-set experience?
Okay, so my favorite on-set experience was, I think it might have been actually my first ever experience on a set, which was also just my first time being an extra. So this was for a film called Eating Miss Campbell, which was like a feature film. It was a professional filmmaker as well. And even though I was just an extra, it was my first time on set, and just seeing all the resources, all the cameras, the makeup people, the set. It was so exciting. I was like, whoa, I finally get to be on a set. And obviously there was a lot of waiting around and just kind of just watching, not doing that much as an extra. But I didn't really care. I was just kind of happy to be there and happy to see kind of the behind the scenes, but in person. And met loads of interesting people. So I think just because of the sheer excitement of it, of my first experience, that's probably like my favorite one for that reason.
Okay. Question 6. Worst on-set experience?
Okay, I don't have any like really out there ones, but I think this film that I mentioned, the student film Black Pudding, we filmed it kind of last year in May, and it was really cold day. So this was like the last day of filming. It was a really cold day. It was kind of snowing and hailing. We'd filmed outside for most of the day, and for one of the scenes towards the end of the day, my character had to like put on her school jumper like during the scene. So whenever they called cut and we had to do it again, I'd have to take it off, then put it back on, take it off, put it back on, like so many times. And I had this like little, like just this school shirt on, but it was just so thin. It was so cold outside. And the other actor was wearing like a suit. So he was a bit better dressed for the weather than I was. The crew members were just like full of like different layers, but they were like dressed appropriately and I wasn't. So that, just hearing cut like over and over and hearing like, okay, do it again. I was like, oh, when is this going to end? And then eventually the other actor went home, and the last scene we were going to do was going to be mine. So the last scene ever we were going to film for this. And again, it was very cold. I was so tired. Got to put my jumper on, but it was still cold. So I asked, could I put my jacket on as well? And the director said, oh, I think, the character is just so upset that she doesn't feel the cold, and we need to show this. So you can't put your jacket on. It's like, oh, great. She doesn't feel the cold, but I do. And then we had to wait for a bus to capture it in the shot. We had to wait for this particular bus to come around the corner. We missed it, had to wait for the next one. And I had to still like show emotion and kind of be sad, even though my face was frozen. And then thankfully, I kind of had tears in my eyes because of just like the cold wind, not even because of the emotion. And then I think I got a cold right after as well. But so yeah, it was just bad just because it was so cold.
I mean, to be fair, it kind of reminds me of a story from the infamous Heaven's Gate, and it went heavily over schedule. And one of the reasons why, because of one day, the director didn't film anything for ages because he was waiting for a cloud he liked to roll into frame.
Oh my god, no.
Yep,
No.
Yep, and that film helped kill United Artists, so...
Literally, like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, but at least the bus one was somewhat reasonable.
I agree.
Yeah.
It could have been worse.
Yeah. Question 7. What differences are there between student filmmakers and professional filmmakers?
Okay, so honestly, I've not had that much experience with professional filmmakers. I think Carl was one of the first ones, and also the one I did as an extra that I mentioned before. I think one of the first things that comes to mind is just obviously the resources. There's just a lot more, and you feel like you're in safe hands. It feels like the project is going to come out a lot better, and also because people actually cared, like they have chosen to do this because they're passionate and because they like it. And it's just really nice to have someone care about this even more than you do, because as an actor, obviously you want it to come out good, but the director, everyone else is going to want that even more than you. So it's really nice in that sense, more organized. And because there's more resources, there's also a lot more people, and a lot more kinds of people as well. And it's just a good opportunity to kind of just meet people, make connections as well. So yeah, I think that's one of the main differences. It's just like the resources, the professionalism, and the passion as well. Yeah.
Okay. Question 8. How do you get involved with the City as Ours?
Okay, so initially I applied to a different project Carl was working on, which was Blackpool Lights. Didn't get it, and then I think we just stayed in touch on Star Now. And whenever he started working on The City Is Ours, he just reached out, asked me if I wanted to do it. And I think it's really nice, and it goes to show that even if you don't get a role, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You can stay in touch with that person. There might be more opportunities in the future. So it actually felt so lucky. It felt like I almost didn't need to necessarily audition, because they know me, or I've done something with them before, and it felt like a really kind of lucky opportunity. Yeah.
Okay. Question 9. Tell us about the character you play in The City Is Ours.
Okay, so my character is called Anna Ramsey, and she is a member of the Goon Gang, so it's kind of the youth gang. And she starts out as just a normal member, but she gains a lot more power kind of throughout the film, the series. And kind of the backstory that I gave her, just to justify why she is how she is and how she's ended up here. The backstory is kind of like she and her mum moved from kind of Eastern Europe. So she's from a working class immigrant background. She struggled quite a lot. They struggled financially as well. So one of the things that kind of drives her is she wants a better life for both of them, for her and her mum. And obviously she's quite young, so she doesn't make a very informed decision. Whenever she finds out about this gang, and gets told, this can get you places, this can make your life better, she goes for it, and initially doesn't really agree with it. So I would say she's quite a caring, quite an empathetic person, and this whole gang thing goes against a lot of her own beliefs, which maybe you wouldn't expect necessarily. And and then there's a point, I forget which episode, but there's a point in the series kind of halfway through where she's at a crossroads, and she kind of has to make a decision. She really is doubting and questioning whether she should go on with this, gang life, whether it's for her, because she doesn't agree with it, but she does feel a bit stuck. She feels like she should keep going. And I think it's quite an important moment for her to kind of take some, basically make a decision. You know, she has this agency, but it's her choice, and whatever she chooses, she has to stick with it, because if you give up, you can't really come back to it. And then if you do keep going, you're going to be in too deep, and you can't leave anymore. So it's quite a big decision. And then I think another thing that's quite important for her is when a lot of her friends, she sees them, you know, getting hurt, getting put in danger, even dying maybe. And because they're all quite close in the Goon Gang, they're basically a family. And because she's so caring, she feels like she has to do something. She feels like it really gets to her. She's quite fiercely protective, and it's one of the reasons why she kind of ends up in this position of power. She doesn't necessarily want it or like it, but she feels like someone has to do it. Someone has to protect these people and her friends. And she becomes an unwilling leader, and you know, whether she does it well or not, I don't know. But I think she does her best with what she has, and this kind of role that, you know, she didn't ask for, she wasn't necessarily prepared for. So I think she's a character people can root for, hopefully, because she has her reasons, and she, you know, she does her best basically with what she's given. Yeah.
Okay. Question 10. What was it like on set?
Okay, so on set, honestly, that was, I feel like every experience, every time I was on set, you know, it was something different, a different location. I feel like I was all over Greater Manchester. Otherwise, like all these little towns and places that I otherwise would not have seen. Whenever my friends were asking me, "Oh, what were you doing there? Like, why would you go there? There's no reason." I'm like, obviously, I was filming. So I think it's quite funny. I ended up in all these little places, usually at night, usually in winter, uh, and yeah, it was always a bit chaotic. You never knew what you were going to find on set, who you're going to meet. Just because it's such a big production, so many people are involved, it's a good chance to meet a lot of different people, you know, different ages, backgrounds. Some have been doing this for ages, some are just as inexperienced as me. So I think it was always fun. There was always someone you could meet, chat to, um, some new town to see, basically. So yeah, I've had a really good time filming it.
Okay. And question 11. Any dream roles slash films that haven't happened slash doesn't exist yet?
Okay, so I think for me, I like not to set too many goals, just because I do have a bit of, you know, imposter syndrome, and I doubt myself a little bit. So if anything, I'm just happy with whatever comes along. And also, as you know, I work full time and I do acting on the side. Sometimes it is quite hard to just keep applying, and whenever you do get a response or you do get a role, you're just happy to get it, honestly. So because of that reason, really, I'd prefer, you know, to keep working with professional filmmakers. Would love to keep having, you know, important roles. I feel like this role was quite fun because it was bigger than I expected. I thought I was just going to have, you know, a couple of scenes here and there, but I was just so happy to have more to do. So yeah, I feel like every actor's dream is to have bigger roles. And I think I'd like to be challenged. So anything that's a bit, you know, darker, like emotional. I don't think I'm that good with comedy. So I don't like to set specific goals, just because if I think about a certain role too much, I start overthinking, oh, I can't do this. This is not for me. So I'd rather just take whatever comes along, and then work with it as I accept it, and as I go through with it. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for the interview. This is hopefully by the time you the audience see this, the City of Ours is now out now at the available platforms below. Rave to the audience and stuff, and enjoy the series.